The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
This is Orioles preview. Orioles continue their series in Minnesota tonight. Coverage here gets underway at 7 o'clock. It's good to talk to Kyle Gibson, who's back with the Orioles after winning 15 games for them 2 years ago. Late spring training signing, has pitched a couple of games for them. How does it feel to be back in Charm City?
Good morning, Andy. How are you doing?
Good.
You know what? It feels good. This was a place that I knew that I loved playing in Camden Yards going into 2023. I didn't know as much about the group of young players coming up. Learned a lot about them in spring that year, and man, they are just quality people that play the game hard. Is what I found out in 23, and I was excited to join that group again, and happy to be back.
Yeah, the Stars are kind of almost grizzled veterans. Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, been around for a while. They're probably different personalities than the ones you encountered in spring training in 23.
Just a little bit less green, but a little bit more experience, and which is a good thing, obviously. I think the more that, not only in life, but the more you experience in baseball, the easier you're able to get through times like right now. Obviously, this is a little bit different time than maybe most of these guys have ever experienced in their career. So, it's a good growing experience. And, at some point down the road here in 2025, I think these growing pains are going to pay dividends.
Yeah, the weight of expectations. You've been around the game a long time. Are you seeing some of that?
I don't want to dig into like what I perceive as much, because I don't want to put thoughts or words into people's mouth. But just when it comes to expectations, I think they definitely can. If you allow it, then they can add added pressure. I'm a pretty firm believer that if you allow pressure to be felt, then you'll feel the pressure. If you enjoy the moment, enjoy the challenge, and have a mindset about it that doesn't make it that added weight, then I think that you can handle it pretty well. But when it comes to expectations, I don't know if there's anybody outside of that locker room that has higher expectations for ourselves than the people in the locker room. We don't voice them. We don't end up, asking the hard questions in media or posting on social media about those, unmet expectations. But, we have high expectations for ourselves. And I think that's why you see, disappointment at times. That's why you see frustration, because everybody in this locker room knows how good this team is.
Kind of an unusual season for you. Have you ever started a year before where you didn't have a team as spring training was getting underway?
Nope, no, I haven't. It was a different off season for sure, as I was, throwing bullpens on my own and, throwing live BPs and, kind of waiting to see if something would materialize. Had a lot of phone calls with teams at times, and, they would either, make another signing or, maybe the gap they were trying to fill, ended up being filled internally. But it was definitely a different year, trying to make sure that I stayed as fresh and ready as possible.
Well, as evidenced by this team and teams throughout baseball, pitchers get hurt. You made 30 starts last year for St. Louis. As they say, the best ability is availability. You were available. Are you surprised that it waited so long for you to catch on with the team?
Yeah, I think so. It was just kind of a weird. I don't know. You never know what teams are thinking, but outside of maybe 2 or 3 starts where I gave up big innings, I think it was probably one of my better years, quite honestly.
Yeah.
So it kind of was surprising, but that's the other thing about this game. There's certain times where surprises probably shouldn't be surprises. You just kind of roll with it and see what happens. But maybe the magic number is 37. You turn 37 and they start to talk to you a little bit different. I don't know. But, it was surprising. But I think how it ended up, I'm with the team that, I'm supposed to be with.
Yeah, at 37, I'm sure you heard this. Well, you got 4 kids. You've had a nice career. Go off into the sunset, drive the carpools. Did those thoughts enter your mind?
Oh, of course those thoughts enter my mind. I had spent basically a year and a half at home, from October of 23 when our season ended to, playing with St. Louis last year. We lived just west of St. Louis. So, I lived at home last year. So I got to do more around the kids and with my wife, Elizabeth, than I had been able to do my whole career. So, and then as March crept on, those thoughts naturally creep into your head. Like, I do have a pretty good setup here where if I don't play, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, retirement is something that is going to be exciting, but, I think this year was meant to be for me to play.
Well, I know your kids are younger, but you probably heard the story about John Madden. He retired from coaching in his early 40s, and he goes home to spend time with his two boys, and he realizes they're living life without him. They're off doing their own thing. I mean, are your kids old enough to kind of, not really need you around as much?
So they go from 11 to 2 years old, and as the spring went on and I wasn't on a team, they were kind of wondering if I was going to play. And then when the possibility came up that I wasn't going to play, they were pretty disappointed. So, they definitely have their life that they live and, their activities that they do outside of school. But they do really enjoy, going to baseball games and, getting to do things that are just, unrealistic for, most kids' lives, but, that they've been fortunate to do. So, we try to not live separate lives because I think that's how it's easy to drift apart and kind of disrupt a family. Yeah,
I think, especially for an 11-year-old kid, how cool that would be to have a dad who's pitching in Major League Baseball. I mean, that's money.
She enjoys it. Now, I guess being in St. Louis, they do some Cardinal red shirt days at school, so she gets a pass, and I think she gets to wear an orange one every now and then. So, her and our 8-year-old boy, they enjoy it.
Absolutely. Rough start. You won against the Yankees, not good. A little bit better over the weekend against Kansas City. How do you feel like you're rounding into form with that late start, the extended spring training that you had? How close are you getting to the form that you've had in the last couple of years?
Physically, I feel really good. Definitely this weekend against the Royals. Stuff was crisper. I think, how my approach was going into that game and how they approached it ended up matching up well for me. I think it was the opposite for the Yankees, obviously. They came out swinging at every pitch in the strike zone as I was trying to get ahead because that's normally a really good combination against the Yankees is, be ahead in the count, control the count, and, get to the pitches that I want to throw. And they didn't let me get past the second pitch in most of those at-bats in the first inning. So, they were really aggressive and, that really didn't match up with my plan. But, I felt like against the Royals, they foul balled me to death a little bit in the middle innings. And then, I just got to a higher pitch count really quick. But, if I could take, one of those singles back there in the fourth inning and leave that game after 4 innings and 1 run, obviously I felt a lot better. But, I think Mav and I were on the same page and, we had a pretty good thing going and just couldn't get that last out there in the fourth inning quick enough.
And the preparation that you had, you're down in Florida, I guess, and the team is started the season. I mean, what kind of preparation could you do? Or were there live batters to face while you were preparing for the season?
It was outside of the team not being there, it was a pretty standard spring training and build up for me. Mm-hmm. I threw 3 live BPs once I got down there. Normally I would probably only throw 2, so I got an extra one of those. And then when they sent me out, I did 3 rehab or build-up starts where probably in a normal spring training, you just have time to do a 4th one, so I would have done a 4th one. But my pitch count, going into that spring training was just built up because, like I said, I was throwing 60 and 70 pitch bullpens, before I left. So, I felt really good about where I was endurance-wise and pitch count-wise. And so I think I threw 80 pitches in my last start there with Aberdeen. So physically I was, as sharp as I could be leaving. And, mentally I felt really good too. So, yeah, it was probably one less start, but I still felt really good about it.
Okay. And one last thing before we get to what you're going to be involved with the Orioles. You spent the first 10 years of your career in Minnesota. What's it like? You must have friends there. What's it like to go back and play a series there as a visiting team?
I love coming back to Minnesota every time. They've got this city and this organization will have, always play a huge part in how I remember my career. We had 3 of our 4 kids born while we were playing here. just a lot of growth in my career and as a person and as a couple with my wife happened here. So yeah, this is a special place to come back to. That's for sure. There's still quite a few staff and front office and people involved with the team that are here. Byron Buxton was a close friend. He was his son was the first kid that our oldest daughter said she was going to marry when she got older. So still going to have that conversation with him this week. But no, there was a lot of life that happened, and Target Field's always been one of my favorite places to pitch. So it's a joy being back.
And not that St. Louis is balmy, but settling the family down there would be kind of a tough winter. So, did you live there year round when you pitched there, or you kept your home in St. Louis?
No, we had the best of both worlds. Before our third daughter or our second daughter was born in 19, we lived most of the off seasons in Fort Myers, Florida. So we had the winters in Fort Myers where we had built a home, and the summers in Minnesota. And if you've been to either of those places in that time of year, it's great. So we had the best of both worlds for a while. No
question. So tell us about the meal packing event that you're going to be involved in.
Yeah, so the charity that I've worked with for the last 7 or 8 years, Big League Impact, is the one that Adam Wainwright started. And we started an initiative a couple years ago called Mission 318, based on the Bible verse 1 John 3:18 about serving others. And the goal is to have a community service opportunity in every one of the big league cities. Our staff at Big League Impact has accomplished that and gives us a chance to do community service on the road or at home whenever we want. And it's easy to sit in your hotel room and sometimes you do need that rest, and other times it's good to get out and see the city and walk around. And that's what we're going to be doing today. The Twins already had this backpack feeding program event set up, and this was the organization that we were going to do one with. So the Twins said, hey, why don't you guys come join us? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Target Field, and every meal is the charity that's hosting it. And what they do is they put together bags of food and put them in kids' backpacks on Friday so that families that have trouble putting food on the table over the weekend can get their kids a couple extra meals. And then when they show up to school on Monday, their bellies are full, they've eaten, and they're ready to learn, which I can't remember the number of kids up here that are living in food insecurity, but it's a high number here in the Twin Cities. So, and there's places like that all around our country. So any little bit we can do is going to help.
That's fantastic. Orioles have always been out in front on those kind of events. So congratulations on getting involved, and congratulations on being back in Charm City. Looking forward to a good second half for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Good to talk to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, you as well.
That's Kyle Gibson, who, again, has had a rough start since rejoining the Orioles, but maybe rounding into form as the season continues. Coming up, Mike Elias talked to the media earlier this week about the team's struggles and his hopes for it getting better. We'll get to that and more as we continue. It's Orioles Preview, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
This is Orioles Preview. Birds play Game 2 of their series in Minnesota tonight. Coverage here at 7 o'clock. They have a record of 13-21. That is the second worst record in the American League, just ahead of the 10-26 Chicago White Sox. This is a team that's made the playoffs the last 2 years, was expected to take the next step and actually win a playoff game this year, and they got a struggle ahead, which was addressed over the weekend by General Manager Mike Elias.
It's been really disappointing for all of us in the organization. It's been very difficult, and we have not performed to expectations, so we all feel that. I feel that. I look at the team, look at things, and, with the offense, the position player group, I think we've had, obviously, a lot of health issues. We've had some guys individually with just literally tough luck on the balls that they're hitting. And then we've got a lot of players and guys with long major league track records that just aren't performing to their norms. So all those being the case, I'm really optimistic, and we're optimistic that we're going to work out of that, and things are going to get better. With the starting rotation, having injuries and also starting so poorly, and putting us in a bad spot because of that. It is difficult to contend with that level of injuries, but even that aside, they've had a poor start, and, that's my responsibility. And I'm in charge of baseball operations, and, when we have a bad record to start the year, that's my responsibility. But we are all working very hard, and we have a lot of faith in this very talented group, and piece by piece, step by step, we're going to get guys healthier. We're going to get guys performing more to their norms. If there's something that we can fix with a player, we're working on that. And I'm very optimistic and confident that we have a lot better baseball ahead, and we're going to play like the way that we should be this season. It's
not just the injuries. It's guys underperforming. Ryan Mountcastle hitting .204. Adley Rutschman hitting .211. Gunnar Henderson, after a slow start, has picked things up. He's up to .252, and he has hit 3 home runs. They'd like to get a little bit more power out of him. Ryan O'Hearn has been very good for them, hitting .295. He's got 7 home runs, 14 runs batted in. Jackson Holliday, who had to be sent back down to the minors last year, has really settled in well at second base. He's hitting .272. So there are some guys that are coming around. But by and large, with the injuries and with the underperformance of players, it's a problem. And unfortunately, in situations like this, the manager takes the fall. It's been very unusual, the run that Brandon Hyde has had. He went through the entire rebuild when they lost 100 games plus a couple of years, and then the last couple of years where they've been a playoff team, manager of the year 2 years ago. But as this team has underperformed this year, could he be a target? Elias says no.
Very confident in Brandon Hyde. I think that, you look at the job of a major league manager. I mean, it would take me 45 minutes to talk about everything that goes into the job of a major league manager. But when things are going great, and they have at times here, we've had that. And then when we're experiencing failure, it's really important in that job and in my job too, to be consistent with your approach. And he's doing that.
Okay, so no problems with Brandon Hyde, according to Mike Elias. But if they continue to lose like this, it might be a move that they would have to make. The big pickup in the offseason for Elias was Charlie Morton, and that is symbolic of the way the team is playing because he's been an outright disaster. He has had 5 starts. He is 0-6 with relief appearances as well. And his ERA is touching 10, 9.76, and that's why Elias has had to make this move.
We moved him to the bullpen in an attempt to get him going, and there's still things, his stuff basically that presents some reason for optimism, but he's extremely frustrated and disappointed with his start. I am. We're not hiding from it. It's been something that's led to some bad results here at part of our rough start. So we're working with him to fix him. And in the meantime, he's going to help the team from the bullpen. And I was really happy that he did what he did the other night. And I think it put us in a position to win Wednesday's game.
Yeah, but that's not why you spent a lot of money on him in the offseason. Other starters, Dean Kramer, who's going to get the start tonight. His ERA, 5.73. He's made 7 starts, 3-4 on the season. Cade Povich, who was chased in the 6th last night, has made 7 starts. His ERA is 5.5. And he's 1-3 on the season. So starting pitching has been a problem. They hope that they can get Zach Eflin back. He's going through some rehab. He was pitching pretty well before he got hurt, so they get him back. Felix Bautista, who missed all of last year after the Tommy John elbow surgery, back and giving them some good help out of the bullpen. So there are some encouraging signs here, but again, it's getting late early for the Orioles who need to turn things around if they're going to contend. Now, the one thing that helps them is as good as the Yankees are, they're not running away with the division. Yankees are 20-16 on the year, so the Orioles, though they are in last place, are only 6 games out of first place and only 3.5 behind the second-place Red Sox. So they can make up some ground, but games like last night where they lose 9-1, that's not going to help. So they wrap up this series with the Twins tomorrow. That'll be a 1 o'clock game. Then they go to Anaheim, and they'll spend the weekend there. Then they come home. They got a 3-game series with the Minnesota Twins, so kind of a home and home. They're in Minnesota now. Twins come in for 3. And then for the weekend, 3 games against the Washington Nationals. And that could be really devastating for them if they get swept in that series, because the Nationals are still very much in the rebuild mode. And, they had a split doubleheader yesterday, but they're only 3 games under 500. You got the Orioles, who are 8 games under 500. And if the Nats come into their ballpark and take care of business there, that's going to be very discouraging. So we're still early, still got time. But if they're looking like this when we get to Memorial Day weekend, which is, I guess, like 2.5 weeks away, you got to wonder about the future of Brandon Hyde. I mean, how long do they stick with him? I think that one thing that works in his favor is you got a relatively new owner in David Rubenstein. And I don't think Rubenstein wants to be seen as the guy who's the impatient guy who comes in and starts firing people all the time. That doesn't seem to be his nature. He's still, I think, in the learning phase, learning about the team. I think he leans on Cal Ripken for advice on things. I think Cal has a really shrewd baseball mind, and that will be helpful. But this is not what they counted on this year. They counted on taking the next step, not only making the playoffs as they have the last 2 years, but getting in the playoffs and winning games. And maybe it starts tonight against the Minnesota Twins. Want to thank Kyle Gibson for joining us. It's always good to talk to him. Thanks to Isaac Kuhn Harris for running the show, and all of you who listened. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.